So I'll talk really quickly about our graphite project in Madagascar. So our graphite project and the uses of the graphite that we're kind of moving forward with. We are fully funded. We're currently in the middle of construction for our phase one, which will be producing 17,000 tons of graphite per annum. We just came out with a preliminary economic analysis for a feasibility study to expand that up to 150,000 tons. So we have all the mining permits in place, the environmental permits, the offtake, so on and so forth. So that's basically the presentation I'll leave out. So far as our offtakes are concerned, there's two main markets in the graphite space. There's the refractory market, and then there's the lithium-ion battery market. So in the refractory market, the largest non-Chinese refractory trader in the world is ThyssenKrupp. So our refractory grade graphite will be going to ThyssenKrupp in both phase one and phase two. On the other side of that market, the EV market, we have a Japanese trader that basically supplies the Tesla supply chain. So they'll be taking half of our production in first phase and another additional 20,000 tons in the second phase of operation. Just as a kind of quick context as well, I mean, everybody hears about the EV markets and how much is required kind of in the future. This is just one gigafactory right here. And you can see what the volumes are of all the critical battery materials. Graphite is in the bottom left-hand corner there. So basically for the 30 gigawatt hour plant that's on the screen right now, that's 80,000 tons per annum of flake graphite that's required for that. And you've probably seen all the announcements around the world of all of these gigafactories getting thrown up in all sorts of different jurisdictions. So there's a lot of graphite that's going to be required. So our project. Our project is located in the south central portion of Madagascar between the ports of Tuliar and Fort Dauphin. Madagascar is known mining for a number of years. There's a very large nickel cobalt project, the Mbatavi project there, and QMM Rio Tinto, they have an ilmenite sands project. So those are the two main miners, will be the third largest. So far as our resource is concerned, we have 140 million tons of graphite mineralization that we've delineated to NI 43-101 standards. However, on our property, we have over 300 line kilometers of graphite. So it's almost an inexhaustible resource. It doesn't make any sense to drill off a couple billion tons, however, because it's really market sensitive. You have to be able to have some place to park that graphite into the marketplace. So far as our flake size distribution, graphite's a little bit different than other commodities in that it's not just the purity of the material that comes out, it's also the size of the flakes. And so this chart basically illustrates the size of our flakes on the one column and basically the carbon content that we pull out of the ground. So the carbon content is one of the higher graphite projects in the world, and we have a high preponderance of the large and jumbo flake graphite as well. What that affords us the ability is we can always make that larger graphite smaller by milling it down, but you can't glue together smaller flakes to make larger. And what that does is it goes into different markets. So on the top of that diagram there, you see those photographs. There's the refractory market, there's the graphite foil, so that's in the back of your television screens, all of your iPhones and so on and so forth, used as a heat sink. So all of the markets for graphite, we've had our graphite tested for and qualified for, and that's really how we got our offtakes. So this is a picture, I guess, an artistic rendering of our phase one operation. So it's 100% modular. The entire processing plant was constructed offshore. And the concept here was really to mitigate the technical risk associated with constructing a plant in a very remote location in the world. What we had done is we've actually constructed this plant now. So the entire plant has been constructed and factory assurance tested in December. It's currently being transported, actually loading on a ship the last couple of days. To go to Madagascar. It's expected to arrive in the middle of June. As such, we have our civils and earthworks ongoing right now in Madagascar for the preparation of that, and that plant will be commissioned in the third quarter of this year. So far as our preliminary economic analysis for a much larger plant, this is essentially the same philosophy, so it's a modular philosophy as well. These are all the modules that we'd be expecting to put on top of that. So far as the plant layout is concerned, this is the mine diagram that they're constructing right now. And you can see the phase one in the kind of black box and then the phase two. So to go from the 17,000 tons to 150,000 tons production volume, the footprint isn't that much larger that we have on that, but we get a lot more volume through that. So far as power is concerned, I said earlier that this is a remote location as well. So we have a PPA provider. So our power generation will be a hybridized power solution, so thermal and solar. We'll be getting about a third of our power requirements from the solar farms. We also have a vertical integration strategy, and I think this is what really sets us apart from other groups that are looking to, I guess, produce in the graphite space. What we have done is we've dissected the whole, I guess, OEM supply chain for natural flake graphite. We found a partner, a Japanese partner that we were working on for probably about 9 years, I guess. And what they do is they supply the whole Tesla supply chain. So about 80% of the OEMs in Japan, as well as Tesla, there's a few of the North American ones as well. We dissected back with them who their partners were that processed that graphite. So I think an important point to make here is if you're looking at the lithium-ion battery industry, there's bottlenecks associated with the OEM requirements for these critical materials. Graphite is the only one where 100% of the value-add processing is completed in China right now. And that's a huge opportunity for us, especially because of the geopolitics right now. Everybody's looking at localization, and we can provide that solution because the group that actually currently supplies the value-added graphite for Tesla is the same group that we have in a collaboration agreement. We have an agreement with them where we can replicate that exact same facility anywhere in the world. So we just completed a technical study for that, and we're just basically narrowing down the different locations. And the locations are going to be dictated by the OEMs that we're talking to, because once again, they want to localize those sources closer to their automobile manufacturers. So who do our partners supply currently? This is basically the list, I guess, of all the graphite people going down to the battery producers and then finally the automotive makers. And this is what the battery anode facility looks like. This is once again in a modular fashion as well. So we can construct it basically to whatever size that customers want. And the sizes are kind of all over the board right now. So what this modular ability allows us to do is we can just add more modules on like building blocks for whatever customers require. What's also kind of interesting to note so far as the anode side of the battery is concerned, anode once again is the negative portion of the lithium-ion battery. It's not just the value-added natural flake graphite, there's synthetic graphite and silicon as well in there. And what those different kind of, I guess, materials do is they give different characteristics to the battery. So torque, range, those types of things. And that's why there's a blend or a mix for that. And there's quite a lot of IP associated with the blending of those materials. The partners that we currently have that supply the coated spheronized purified graphite, so that's the natural graphite value add. They also do silicon and the synthetic graphite and the blending. So when we're talking with OEMs, we actually present them with the full package. We can give them the complete anode solution, which to my knowledge, nobody else in the world can do. And this really kind of takes us to the philosophy that we have in this building block kind of build out that I talked about earlier. So in the bottom left-hand corner, you see the graphite mine that we're currently constructing right now. So that's 17,000 tons per annum. The little yellow block represents this BAF or battery anode facility. So essentially with the offtakes we have right now, the Japanese group is saying that they can take their material. They need about 2,000 tons to qualify for production run for their OEMs currently. But the rest of the material we can put directly into our BAF. And so what we're doing is quantifying the exact cost in different locations so we can get that up running probably in the next 9 months. On the right-hand side, you see the much larger expansion. So going from the 17,000 ton mine to the 150,000 ton mine. What that would require is essentially 4 of the same size plants that are currently producing for the Tesla supply chain. And the reason that we arrived at this 150,000 ton number is that there are losses associated with doing the value add for graphite. You essentially mill the graphite flake down into smaller size. So it's about a 50% yield. So essentially you put in 10 tons of graphite, you're going to get 5 tons of the battery grade graphite coming out the other end. And so just one of the OEMs we're talking about is looking at 60,000 tons per year of the value-added graphite, and that basically amounts to 150,000 tons. That's why the mine is designed in that manner. But the other thing to keep in note is that we can basically put these blocks, as many blocks as required, to meet the demand that OEMs have, and the little yellow blocks can go basically in whatever jurisdiction that people are looking at. And once again, the automobile manufacturers, they want that closer to their battery construction facilities. So because of that, we're very well positioned to meet the demands for the anode market moving into the future. Everybody has their own projections so far as the lithium-ion battery market, how that's going to be developing, what the volumes are required moving forward on that. But regardless of what the volumes are, we know they're going to be more than they are right now. And we're very well positioned to basically go out there and give people the product that they require. So we're here for the next couple of days. And I think it's Q4 is our booth. And if we don't meet you there, we can meet you around on the rest of the floor here. Thank you for your time.